In 2019, I made history with my late night show, A Little Late with Lilly Singh. Thank you. Thank you. We're celebrating International Women's Day, y'all. Now, don't worry. You don't have to remember to go out and get anyone flowers. You just have to remember to go out and fight for equal pay for women in the workplace. Now, I know there are guys out there thinking, oh, International Women's Day? Why don't we have an International Men's Day? God bless you, Twitter. Well, you're in luck, because you do. It's actually on November 19th. But you wouldn't know that because you're too busy celebrating it every other day of the year. Also, fun fact, November 19th is also International Toilet Day. Now, I made history.
History because she was talented. History because it was a good show that the world needed. No, history because of Singh herself and her story.
Now, in 2010, I noticed that no one on YouTube looked like me. There was no me. People got a little uncomfortable. Like the time I pointed out the gender gap in the Forbes list for online creators, a list I'd previously been on. I remember wanting to start a critical conversation because I saw this article and I was heartbroken. You know, the digital space had always been a place that I thought was without gatekeepers.
She didn't want to start a critical conversation. This was about her being upset about not being on a list she had even previously been on, and trying to divert from this fact by invoking a discussion about gender. Previously, she said that she wanted to be treated equally.
I wanted to be treated equally.
But now, unsurprisingly, we learn that that's not what she's interested in at all. Even when the public has spoken, and even though it's obvious that names that are much bigger than hers get more money, she still wants what other, more successful people have. But a critical discussion sounds much nobler than the truth, of course. Singh's real problem is that she thought she was in the same league as the people she compared herself to, but it turned out that she wasn't. That was her mistake, so all she demonstrates with her complaints is that she obviously hasn't been willing to learn from her mistakes. Yet the appeal to pity continues.
To say the budget was small, the writing staff even smaller, and to do the first season, I had to shoot 96 episodes of late night television in 3 months. Who was right? To put that into perspective, that is shooting 2 to 3 episodes a day. We did it all with a writing staff of about half a dozen writers.
What Singh's actually admitting here between the lines is that she wasn't cut out for this job, wasn't willing to go the extra mile, because real success takes inordinate amounts of effort. You can't hide behind platitudes and gender discussions for that.
Words cannot explain to you how exhausting, emotionally and spiritually challenging that was. Now, during season 2 of my show, I remember I went into overdrive. I found all the loopholes, I did all the necessary jobs to try to make the show more timely. But my take was almost never included in topical media news coverage roundups.
She compares herself to experienced and established hosts. The victim narrative Singh has memorized and uses as a coping mechanism has blinded her from realizing the simple truth that she wasn't cut out for the business she pursued for the wrong reason. To have a seat at the table, as her talk is called, but which really means demanding influence right here and now for no apparent reason. She thought she was unique and thought it would be easy to convince other people about her uniqueness. When she found out it wasn't easy, she made it about gender and workload instead.
I would like to present to you a set of guidelines I very eloquently call How to Build a Table That Doesn't Suck. I've been told I'm very literal. However, let's be clear. Although gratitude feels warm and fuzzy, it's not a form of currency.
She keeps showing us that she has a problem with this word, gratitude. And actually, it is a form of currency because you need to have gratitude, not as a deceptive tactic, but because it's part of who you are as a person. But Singh doesn't realize that, or rather, she doesn't want to realize that because, again, her ambition has always exceeded her talent.
Women are assigned 10% more work and spend more time on unrewarded, unrecognized, and non-promotable tasks.
Where's the proof that these tasks are unrewarded, unrecognized, and non-promotable? How does she even begin to define terms like unrecognized and unrewarded? And in what context? Or even better, how does she establish the causal connection she would have to prove between an unrecognized task, whatever that means, and said task being non-promotable? Because she's so focused on getting to the top without earning it first. Everything that isn't promotable is beneath her.
Basically what this means is all the things men don't want to do are being handed to women. And a lot of those things largely include things that advance inclusivity, equity, and diversity in the workplace.
Notice the hitching language, expressing equivocation in order to grant herself leeway. When someone says basically, they show awareness of the fact that they're simplifying, or in this case, oversimplifying or lying about something. A lot of, she says, because she knows she doesn't have exact numbers, a proof of this.
And a lot of those things largely include, and women, yeah, go ahead, live it up, live your life.
Singh is the prime example of how you shouldn't conduct yourself in a workplace, least of all in an industry which depends on audiences' perception of you.
Invest in potential. When investing in women, don't invest in the 1:30 a.m. time slot. Invest in empowering something different. Invest in a new voice. Give them the support they actually need.
She says women appealing to a collective, but with a word like time slot and a phrase like empowering something different, we know that Singh's only talking about herself.
We still got the same voices, the same perspectives, even though someone and something different was literally in the next time slot.
Singh continues to talk about herself, disguising it as general advice to companies.
Cultural change takes time and money. Heck, it took my grandfather 25 years to see that I was worthy of more. So a true investment is one that values potential over proof. Because so often that proof doesn't exist for women. Not because we aren't qualified, but because we haven't been given the opportunity.
Her argument is inherently anecdotal. This happened to me, therefore companies must do this. Which leads to the second point, that this is terrible advice, but very indicative of the time we're living in. What she calls proof is a synonym to merit. So to translate, she advocates that companies place a person's innate characteristics above said person's merits, essentially.
Don't hold up against something called a prove it again bias, which requires less privileged people to constantly keep proving themselves, even though white men tend to get by on just their potential.
I've never heard of this bias. How strange. Prove it again. You mean the excruciating job of having to show your qualifications.
White men tend to get by on just their potential.
Singh's hitch, tend to, is interesting in that regard. Hitches express uncertainty, not certainty. So with the hitch, Singh implicitly tells us that you can't back this up with proof, at least not undeniable proof.
Up next, this is my favorite one. It's quite common sense, actually. Make space for us. For every 3 men at a table, there's only one place setting for a woman.
Make space for us, and make space for Singh.
I would receive notes like, don't be so loud, don't be so big, don't be so angry, smile more. But when that extra RSVP is a woman, more often than not, she's encouraged to compete against the only other woman that was invited to the table.
Where does Singh get her stats from? From rom-coms. More often than not is yet another example of the intentional vagueness, the main characteristic of victim narratives.
We already know that more diverse teams perform better. A recent study shows that corporations that have more gender diversity on their executive teams were 25% more likely to experience above average profitability. So really, no matter how you look at it, it's time to build longer tables and more seats.
That sounds so nice and simple. And when studies that are supposed to convey multifaceted, complex information sound nice and simple, well, usually it says something about the speaker's agenda. How was the study done? How were the participants, including the companies, selected? How was the study financed? Who financed it? What's the background of the researchers? How can we know that these results can be generalized to all companies and/or all areas of society? Is her definition of diversity always good? Would a study proving the opposite be allowed to be published in today's climate? Singh shows no interest in this, or any discernment, because this isn't about getting to the truth. It's about advancing the pre-existing conclusion for self-benefit.
And I want to say something, and I want to admit something. I want to be vulnerable for a second. because I've fallen victim to this so many times, and women, let me know if you've experienced this. We have to get rid of the scarcity mindset and champion each other. Because I've learned what's the better win, me sitting at a table or us sitting at a table.
Let me be vulnerable for a second. Singh is so focused on groupthink that she ignores that it's not about what the names or physical appearance of the people sitting at the table are. It's about what they bring to the table. It's about talent, intelligence, and demeanor. Demeanor is especially important when talking about Singh, because this "I want to have it all before earning it first" mentality isn't exactly what companies are looking for.
Gratitude is a great word. It's nice, it's fluffy, a solid 11 points in Scrabble. Okay? However, let's be clear, it's not a form of currency.
Is she actually concerned for her group? No, her statements indicate that she's looking out for her own interests, and that her focus on groupthink is a way to, quite lazily, complain her way to privileges.
Let me lead by example right now and say I know there's many other women that are going to come on this stage, and I hope they all nail it, and I will be cheering you all on, because we can all win. And I'm going to be your biggest cheerleader when you're up here.
Yes, because this sounds so reliable, and it totally doesn't sound like a request to the audience to cheer her on. Encouraging the audience to disregard the fact that she hasn't provided a shred of proof of the study she's name-dropping, or that her statements are anything but the result of a self-serving coping mechanism. Lead by example. Yes, because she's setting such a good example, cheering for someone simply because of their innate characteristics, and not because they have valuable things to say.
It's time to upgrade the table talk. Now, I believe stories make the world go around. You thought it had something to do with the solar system? Joke's on you, it's stories.
Well, at least one person found it funny. I call that progress and leading by example.
Yet women and girls make up only a quarter of the people interviewed, or that the news is even about in the first place.
What news is she talking about? How can she determine what news affects women or not? Where are the numbers for this claim?
We not only need to be included in the coverage, we need to be driving those stories and dimensionalizing our own experience.
Over 40% of American journalists are female, so women are indeed helping to drive the stories.
Inviting everyone in on the table talk isn't just a nice gesture. It makes for better, more productive, smarter conversation with more than one point of view. And that's how you get better.
See what she did there? She directly equated her definition of diversity, which is based on the group people belong to having more than one view. As if people have to look different, have to be born different, in order for them to have different opinions.
So, this all sounds like a lot of work. And it is. But I'm going to tell you why it's necessary and worth it.
I can't wait. Everything she said so far has been so specific and well thought out. So why shouldn't this be as well?
Now, in fact, I could probably come up with many more guidelines across many other industries. But this is about creating a world where half of the population can thrive.
Always these sneaky presuppositions. Now we're supposed to believe that half of the population isn't thriving. Unfortunately, a lot of people only listen to the feel-good terms and not the deceptive presuppositions behind them. Most political leaders bank on that.
And here's the best part. Are you ready for it? Everyone listening today, all the men, the women, everyone in between, the big companies, the small ones, the media outlets, the people that snuck in the back, all of you.
This is going to be specific. I just know it will.
You can help create this future.
Nope. Sorry, my mistake. Like and subscribe for more videos with plenty of room for you to dimensionalize your own experience and empower something different.